is the story of Odysseus and the Cyclops from Homer's Odyssey. Tell me, muse, of the man of many wiles. He, Odysseus, then spoke. I will tell thee of a tale of my wanderings. When we came to the land of the Cyclops, there was a cave near the sea. I took 12 of my men and left the rest to guard the ship. We went into the cave, and while we were there, he whose dwelling it was returned. Never in all our lives had we seen a creature so terrible as this Cyclops was. He was a giant in size, but what made him so terrible to behold? He had but one eye, and that single eye was in the center of his forehead. The Cyclops drove his flocks into the cave, and took up a stone that not all our strengths could move, and set it as a door to the mouth of the cave. The Cyclops then kindled his fire, and as it blazed up, he saw us in the corners and recesses of the cave. When he spoke to us, our hearts were shaken with terror at the sound of his deep voice. I spoke to him and said that we were Agamemnon's men, on our way home from the taking of Priam's city of Troy, and I begged him to deal with us kindly for the sake of Zeus, who is ever in the company of strangers and suppliants. But he said to me,
We Cyclops pay no heed to Zeus, nor to any of thy gods. In our strength and our power, we deem ourselves mightier than they. I will not spare thee, neither will I give thee aught for the sake of Zeus, but only as my own spirit bids me.
Without another word, he laid hands on 2 of my men and ate them before our very eyes. We wept and prayed to Zeus as we witnessed a deed so terrible as this. The Cyclops then stretched himself amongst his sheep and fell asleep beside the fire. When dawn with her rose-red fingers shone once more, the Cyclops awakened, kindled his fire, milked his flocks, and again seized 2 more of my men and made ready for his meal. After which he rolled away the stone, drove his flocks out of the cave, and replaced the stone. I had thought of something that might be done to baffle the Cyclops. I had with me a great skin of sweet wine, and I thought that if I could make the Cyclops drunken with wine, that I and my companions might be able against him. But there were other preparations to be made first. On the floor of the cave there was a great beam of olive wood. We cut a fathom's length of the wood and sharpened one end of it. I then hid the beam in the recesses of the cave. When evening arrived, it brought with it the Cyclops, who rolled away the stone, drove his flocks into the cave, and reset the stone. He rekindled his fire, and again laid hand upon 2 more of my men. I went to the horrible creature with a bowl of wine in my hands. He took it and drank it and cried out,
Tell me thy name, that I may give thee gifts for bringing me this honey-tasting drink.
I said to him, No man is my name.
Give me more of this drink, no man, and the gift that I shall give thee is I shall make thee the last of thy fellows to be eaten.
The Cyclops took the bowl and drank it, and fell backward with his face upturned, and sleep fell upon him. I and my companions took that beam of olive wood and thrust it into his eye. He made a horrible cry that made the cavern ring, and we dashed into the recesses of the cave. His cries brought other Cyclops to the mouth of the cave and asked him what ailed him.
No man,
he shrieked,
no man has slain me with guile.
And they said to him, Then if no man has slain thee, what ails thee has been sent to thee by the gods, Polyphemus. Then Polyphemus, with great pain, rolled away the stone and sat before the mouth of the cave. I then showed my companions how we might slip by him. I laid hands on certain rams of the flock and lashed 3 of them together, using supple rods. I then placed one of my men upon the middle ram. Thus every 3 rams carried a man. When dawn with her rose-red fingers shone once more, the rams hastened out to the pasture, and as they passed, Polyphemus laid hands upon the first and the third of each 3 that went by. For myself, I chose a ram that was the largest and the fleeciest of the flock, and placed myself under him, clinging to the wool of his belly. This ram passed, Polyphemus laid hands upon it and said,
"Would that you, the best of my flock, might be endowed with speech, that you might tell me where no man who has blinded me has hidden himself."
The ram went by, and when we were further from the cave, I loosed myself from him and went and set my companions free. We then gathered together many of Polyphemus's sheep and drove them down to the ship and on board. And when we had drawn a certain distance from the shore, I could not forbear to shout by taunts,
"Cyclops! You have been worsted by me, and your evil deeds have been punished."
The Cyclops then took rocks and cast them at the ship. The men bent to the oars, or else we would have been destroyed by the rocks he cast. When we were further away, I shouted,
"Cyclops! If any man should ask thee who it was who set his mark upon thee, say that he was Odysseus, the son of Laertes."
Then the Cyclops, with great anger in his heart, cried out,
"I call upon Poseidon, the god of the sea, whose son I am, to avenge me upon Odysseus. I call upon Poseidon to grant that you, Odysseus, may never return to your home, or if the gods have so ordained your return, that you come to it after much toil and suffering in an evil plight in a stranger's ship to find sorrow in your home."
And so Polyphemus prayed, and so, to my evil fortune, Poseidon heard his prayer. And thus again we sailed upon the wine-dark sea.